What's going on, Ian?
What's up?
How
Just
are you?
doing some yard work today, just doing household stuff.
You got to do yard work after bodybuilding stuff.
I know. Sorry, I was distracted there. Missed your message.
All right, so we're doing
Two hoses that are stuck together. I was fucking sitting there fiddling with them, trying to get them apart.
we're doing a quick wrap up. Your thoughts on New York? Let's start with Nick, the winner. Obviously, let's take a look at some pictures here while you talk. What did you think of Nick and his outing at New York?
Yeah, I mean, I think as the scorecard showed, it was a very close show between him and Martin. They both have great attributes and very different attributes in certain senses. Nick is just very overwhelming with his level of muscularity. I think his level of detail from the front was a little higher than Martin's. I think from the back, Nick is definitely bigger, but they're comparable in detail and stuff. So yeah, I think it was a close show. It was what, 4-5, both prejudge and finals. Two different physiques, and I think Nick looked great. His conditioning was definitely very good. He's very, very muscular. His midsection control in certain shots leaves a little bit more to be desired, but overall, I think he looked really, really good. And Martin, testament to Martin too, that he pushed a consistent top five Olympian, right?
Yeah, I think look, props to Nick. He's an incredible bodybuilder. He's massive. I think the show came down to basically size versus shape.
In a lot of
And
senses, I would agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, I'm obviously that's a broad stroke, but like basically what we're looking at is Nick is much more muscular than Martin,
Yeah.
and Martin has a very balanced aesthetic physique.
Yeah, Nick's just got that density. Like in the side shots, you can see it. The depth of the physique is a little more in the back shots. Even though Martin's back is very, very nicely put together and a lot of great detail, glutes and hams are stripped out. Nick just has a little more of everything. Same in the most muscular here, just like through the delts, arms.
Yeah.
Um,
I
you
mean,
know,
you can see there really what the difference is between the physiques. Like,
Yeah, and in certain shots, Martin, like when he does his abs and thighs, he displays a crazy level. Like here, you'll see shit shoots down on it, crazy level of detail in the quads. But just staying there in like a front double or front lat, Nick, even though I don't think his quads are as nicely shaped and as round and maybe as big necessarily from the front, they have a really good level of detail and kind of like a gnarliness to them that still makes them kind of stand out in the front shots.
yeah, I mean, look, I think ultimately in bodybuilding criteria, it's going to come down like when people watch the show, they're going to think of it as like their personal preference, right? So a lot of people I think are going to pick Martin because he's got a really nice X frame in that. But when looking at it in bodybuilding criteria, freak factor, muscularity,
Yeah.
I mean,
Nick's
Nick is very hard to beat. Now,
And I
uh,
mean, and the judges agreed with you, like in the
right.
sentiment that some of them thought Martin and some of them thought Nick. I mean, it was a 1 point swing in both prejudging finals. So that means out of what, seven judges, I don't know exactly what it'd be. Say seven judges, there was four going for Nick and three going for Martin per se.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean,
so I mean, some of the judges did agree that they wanted to go with the more aesthetic physique, and some guys obviously thought that Nick's muscularity was just too overwhelming, and his detail and depth in some shots, but they both looked ridiculously good. I mean, and it makes it very interesting going for the rest of the year for sure.
I think I have to agree with the judges. I think after taking a night to think about it, I mean, look, this is the interesting thing is it's got to be really hard to sit there as a judge and do it in real time and make the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to respect them for that because I had to think about it for a night to really come to like the conclusion that
Yeah,
Nick was the winner. Because yesterday when I was watching the show, I thought, I think Martin won
yeah,
because I really place a little bit more emphasis on shape, I think. But then when I sat back and really took a look at a lot of the photos, a lot of the videos, I'm like, Nick's just too overwhelming.
yeah,
Is just too much. There's too much to overlook when you just look. Okay, the negative is maybe the wider waist, legs aren't maybe as big and balanced, but there's so much other good shit
yeah.
that you can't just kind of ignore it
Yeah,
all
I
just
mean,
for
and
that.
even in the shots that he's losing to Martin, let's say like, or closer to losing, like the front lat or the front double, like some of the front shots where his waist is a little more exposed. He still has some awesome parts in terms of the density and the
Right.
detail, the detail in the quads, kind of the just gnarliness, the size of the arms, and delt. So there's still like, yeah, Martin has a nicer silhouette, and there's some really awesome things to those shots, but it's not like Nick is just like letting them go the wayside where he doesn't have any really great attributes still in those shots. So, and then the shots that he's good in, you know, the side shots, the back shots, you know, are some of Martin's best shots as well. And Nick just has, you know, his shape isn't as exposed in those shots. Plus his size is just very overwhelming, you know?
Yeah. I mean, look, when you look at these two side shots, they're both posing very well. Their condition is almost the same.
Yeah.
But it's just a lot more muscularity. Like when you look at Nick, he's just a lot more there. And then
there's just more depth and more
yeah,
density to it, front to back thickness, you know, through the arms and delts and chest, the quad, from the side, the hamstring. You know, I think Martin's got really great side legs, really good drop on the hamstrings, but like in terms of just the density, Nick just has a little bit more, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like certain shots like that, abs and thighs, I'm going to give to Martin all day.
Of course. Yeah.
You know, I think his flow is awesome. When he stomps down that quad, he can really display the crazy detail there. And honestly, for Nick being someone so good from the back shots, it's really a testament to Martin of how strong he is in those poses. You know, like you could make a case Nick is bigger, but in terms of the depth and detail in the back, Martin's got like a little more kind of projection to it. And you see in the lower lats there.
Right.
His glutes are like dug out like crazy. Hamstrings are both ridiculously corded. Nick's just a little bit wider. I like how Nick hits the pose a little better, very upright like that. I think it shows it off really nicely.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I mean, they both are. I mean, this whole top four, honestly, in some of the, like, especially in the back lat, all four of these guys are crazy good.
Well, let's move on from first and second. We had Tonio in third, and I think you know, Tonio and Martin have very similar physiques. There's some small things that I think put Martin ahead.
Yeah.
But you want to go ahead and tell me why you think Tonio?
Yeah, I think Tonio looked awesome. I think this was one of the better Tonios we'd ever seen for sure. You know, he had a little bit more fullness to him than I think we've seen. I think on, you know, we'd critiqued the side shots before, and especially the side chest, how he posed it, he improved massively. Like it went from being a shot that it's like, man, there's so much more to be desired here, to I being like, man, this is one of the better side chests up in that lineup. So he really made a huge improvement in some of the posing in those shots. You know, I think the thing is he's just a little narrower, you know?
Yeah.
When you put him next to Nick and Martin, you know, there's a little more clavicle width to the physique. And I think the conditioning in the glutes and hamstrings basically weighs down even the quads, you know, in those top two were just a little bit superior. So just, yeah, a little bit of size, a little bit of detail. But I mean, he's, you know, he's still an amazing bodybuilder and definitely, you know, not being blown out of the water by these guys. He holds his own in that lineup. Absolutely.
I think for me, I think if I had to pinpoint one thing that maybe drove him back to third, it would be the back shots. Because when I look at these back shots, the separation in the hamstrings between 1 and 2, like if you look at Nick and you look at Martin,
yeah, I know,
and then the detail in the glutes, and then obviously also the depth in the back. Now Tonio has a great back lat spread, but you can see here in the back double leaves something to be desired.
His back double has a very, very nice detail, nice symmetry to it. Yeah. These two guys are just a little bigger. And then I think, yeah, there's a little bit of disproportion in terms of the level of detail and conditioning from top to bottom in that shot.
Right.
You know, his back is very hard, very detailed. You know, his glutes are in, but you can see the texture of the skin still is not like super, super thin and dry.
Right.
The hamstrings obviously a little more to be desired in terms of, you know, cording out and separation detail there. So, you know, he still has very, very great back shots. But these two guys that he was, you know, going against have, you know, two of the best, you know.
While we're on this photo, I'm just going to go to Stu, who I thought looked massive in this. Obviously, this picture doesn't really show how big he was, but I think this shot kind of is indicative of why he may have slipped as well.
Yeah, I think the two shots that honestly probably hurt him the most were the front and the back double. You know, I think in the front double he's got big quads, but I think there's a little more to be desired in terms of the detail and the separation in them, and then kind of the depth through the chest and the arms and stuff like that. A little more width in the lats, a little more depth to the abs, just like a kind of a detail and pop in the front shot. And in the back shot, in the back double, just a little more, same thing, you know, more back, more density to the back, more pop kind of to the back, more separation in the hamstrings. He had some really awesome shots. I mean, his front lat I really liked. Both his side shots I thought were awesome. His back lat, like see that side chest, I think is great. You can really tell the size of him. I think his back lat was awesome. His abs and thighs was like arguably one of the best. You know, he had a crazy avant thigh, like his waist when he blows that out. Well, he's hitting the
He's not
variation.
doing. Yeah, he's not doing it there.
You know, you saw what I'm talking about. When he blows out that air,
His
his
waist looks tiny. Yeah,
waist just like shrinks in like crazy nice. So
yeah, yeah. I was really impressed with the size of Stu. I didn't realize
yeah,
how big he was, but his bone structure is very
yeah,
is
he's a big guy, and you know, like
yeah.
standing even there next to Nick, you can see like Nick has some better bodybuilding properties, but in terms of the just the size of the guy and the muscularity overall, he's big. You
Right,
know.
right, right. If Stu can fill this bone structure out a little bit more over the course of the next couple of years, he'll be dangerous.
Yeah.
Moving to fifth, we had Aaron Wolski. I told you guys he was going to fucking
Yeah, you're
surprise you.
right. This
I
guy
told,
showed up, man. This guy was honestly one of the most impressive in the show for me in
well,
terms of
there he is. He's over here.
unexpected, you know,
Yeah, he
crazy round quads, great shape. You know, he's kind of like a Martin in a sense in that he doesn't really have any like glaring weak points. You know, he was just very balanced, good conditioning. You know, I thought he was really, really good. Showed up, brought a great package.
I who's the best
WO
bodybuilder?
no H,
What's that?
no H.
Oh, there's no eight. No, yeah, there is. It's right there.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were typing in Wolski.
No, no, I was typing in
Yeah,
this
yeah.
this profile because sometimes they post some good shots. I just want to see if I could see something about from Wolski here because I want to show him a little bit more because I thought he was really good. Ole looked amazing, by the way. Congratulations
He looked crazy.
on the fucking 212. I love this guy's physique.
Yeah,
He's just a he's a
the back
fucking
shot. Like, look at this. This is just crazy.
look at this fucking freak.
Oh my god.
Hey, tell me he doesn't look like Marcus Rule in the face a little bit.
Not many guys can do the hip hop like that and still have that level of set detail in their
I
glute.
know. It's
Guys will do it
nuts.
because they want to get a little more adductor width. But like you know, you're fucking peeled when you can pop your glutes back like
Okay,
that.
tell me that's not Marcus Rule with a shorter body.
The face I know looks so much like
He's fucking awesome. Okay, anyway, back to Wolski. Let me see if I can go to his profile and see
Yeah,
something.
go to his and go to his tag. Yeah.
Let's see what we got here. Nothing.
Yeah, there's a couple there.
Here's one.
Right side.
No, this is old. Is this old? No, this is from yesterday. Yeah. I don't know if this is a great look for him. It's better. I don't know. The lighting in this camera looks different.
Yeah, these are weird, but yeah, I mean, you can see there the back, you know, glutes and hands were, you know, he's in great condition. You could obviously he needs a little more depth to the back still, little overall muscularity to it, but very well balanced, great quads, great shape. Conditioning was very good. I mean, it was an awesome showing. He beat a lot of, you know, really good bodybuilders because of it. You know,
I think if he adds some more shoulder cap to his delts and a little bit more hamstring to match the quad, like his quads are huge.
yeah, quads are huge. Yeah.
And then if you go to the back, the hamstrings aren't really separated out or as big. So I think it's like he's missing a couple body parts, but overall he's got great shape. And then we have to talk about Quint before we go, because Quint didn't not deliver. And you know what? I'm starting to see something that's it's not that Quint was bad. I mean, he's got a beautiful shape. It's just I want to ask you because people keep taking years off.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm saying this is kind of Martin was second. He took a year off and looked incredible, but a lot of times I'm seeing guys take a year off and they're just not making the changes that they expect to make with a year off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I don't know what it was with Quint. Was it a peaking issue? Was it a fullness issue? Was it like
Yeah, without having all the factors, it's hard to tell. I mean, it could be that he was sucked down a little hard at the end because I think for finals, honestly, he looked a lot fuller and definitely looked better than he looked in prejudging. So I saw a little bit more glimmers of the muscularity that I think he has. So maybe it was a little bit of flatness trying to get that, you know, really good detail for prejudge. But I mean, it's tough for him. You know, I think I said it to you yesterday. You know, it's like his biggest blessing and his biggest curse, kind of all wrapped in one, and that is his length. You know, long arms, long legs, just long things.
Yeah.
You know, that creates a beautiful shape and really nice X frame. A lot of really awesome tools, but it creates a very long physique that is very hard to make look full and dense. You know,
yeah.
there's just a lot of length to it, you know. So I think he looked great. I think his peak was good. I think he just still needs more muscle to that really friggin' big frame. I think the finals he was definitely better. But like you can see on the side chest there, and in the back shots especially, the side leg, the hamstring, the quad depth. You can see there compared to
Yeah.
like even Christians,
Yeah. 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 I
or
mean,
or Angels, um, and same, just kind of through the arm, delt, chest, like kind of just a little more depth to everything, and especially the back. The back is obviously what's probably going to be hurting him the most is just the depth in the back shots. I think some shots like that, like the abs and thighs, are great.
sure.
Obviously super nice shape, deep abs, really good quads, huge calves. But yeah, the overall just thickness to his muscularity, to his muscles, what he needs more of.
Yeah. Yeah. It's too bad. I really had a lot of hope for Quint. Like I really like him as a person.
Yeah, I
And I
think
try
he
and
keep
I try
going. I
not
think
I try not to be biased when I'm looking at physiques, but I really thought like, some of these these 3, 4, 5 week out
yeah,
posts, I just thought, man, he's put on, like you see something like sorry, wrong one. When
next
you see
one.
something like this,
Yeah,
you're like, man, he's put on a lot of size. But then you got to remember he's also in the gym, he's also in front of the perfect light, he's also in front
yeah,
of
you
like,
got a pump and everything. Like
yeah,
I
it's
got some pictures after I got a pump that look a whole lot different than I ever looked on stage in terms of a fullness and size perspective.
right. So it's kind of hard to judge, but you're expecting to see this walk on stage.
Yeah,
And
it's tough. I mean, I think he is heading in the right direction. And I think he
yeah,
should, you're in shape. I think he should keep competing this year. I think he could probably win a show like a Toronto or something. I'm not sure who's doing what this year. Or get a couple of good placings, win some money.
I
I
don't
think you're already in shape now. I don't think there's any point in just hanging it up and being like, I need to grow more. I think you're in shape. I think you should slug out a few more. He hasn't competed much, so I think just to get up there more, and get that stage experience and confidence while you're already in shape. Like I don't think another 3, 4 months of competing is going to be like the biggest hindrance on your long term success and growth. So, I'd go do whatever's next, Cali, Toronto, a couple more, bang it out. Try a couple different looks, come in a lot fuller, maybe sacrifice a little bit of detail, see how that looks.
Mhm.
Just try a couple different looks with Matt and see what it can, output in terms of a placing, right?
Yeah, I have the same opinion. I mean, California's next week and Toronto's 2 weeks later.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's
never.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, it gives you a chance. And plus, I feel like something happened. It was almost like something happened in like the 3 week out, 2 week out, 1 week out, like when they were really flattening him out.
yeah.
It almost looks like he lost tissue. And I'm like, it would be cool to see if, like they did Toronto, if they refeed him a little bit over the next couple weeks.
I think you've got nothing to lose. So I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually did this in my rookie season when I lost to you in Orlando. I was like one of the leanest guys in the show, but I was like
Yeah.
227 pounds,
Yeah.
and you guys were 250 plus. So I got spanked in terms of just size. So when I was working with Dennis that show, he's like, man, we got nothing to lose. So he just like fed the living shit out of me for 3 weeks between there and Toronto.
Yeah.
Just in that like 3, 4 weeks, I ended up being like 12, 13 pounds heavier on stage in a month just
That's what
between
I'm saying.
run. And
Yeah.
just my conditioning was still good. Like I had, striated glutes, but it wasn't the same level of sharpness I can get or did have in Orlando. But I looked a lot bigger, a lot fuller, and I scored a better placing. So, it's I think there's no harm in it. I think if you were second place, then I wouldn't want to maybe mess around too much. Because it's like, all right, we're pretty damn close. Let's not mess with it. But I think at this point, you should just try. You got 1 week between now and Cali. I would just eat up all week, feed up hard. Don't go crazy on the diuretics or anything. And just bring in a really big, full popping physique and kind of see what it looks like. And then you can decide for the next week or 2 weeks after that, for Toronto, kind of how you want to approach that.
So before we go, I have to bring this up because I think it's a going to be a glaring issue come Olympia time.
Yeah,
With Nick narrowly beating Martin
sure.
and mostly beating him on size,
Mhm.
how is that going to fare for him against guys that are his size? When he steps on stage with guys like Hunter, Andrew, Samson, Hottie, Derek, these guys
Yeah.
are all the same size and they don't have, they probably have closer to Martin shape. So,
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's going to be tough for him. I think, he's got a lot of tools, but he doesn't want to let some of the weaknesses that he has, like his, the little bit of width in the midsection, start to overshine really great assets that he already has.
Mm-hmm.
Like in that front shot, I mean, he's got super deep developed abs. He's got crazy gnarly quads, but you kind of throw off that shot when the midsection is, you can, like, I'm not trying to shit on Nick or anything, but you can see it starting to come out a little bit,
Yeah,
and if you
yeah.
compare it to, the last Olympia he did or the Arnold before, you can see that there's a little bit of widening in there through the obliques, and the abs are starting to space apart a little bit. I don't think he's so far gone now that it's a massive issue, but I think it's something, when you're, like you said, with guys that are really muscular, with really great shape, is something you're definitely going to have to be mindful of, and really be, I think really should be the focus for him. Like, look, I'm not Nick's coach or anything, but I'm like, he could almost just stop training his damn upper body,
I know.
and just train his damn legs, and like keep food volume to an absolute minimum to, try and bring that waist down a little bit, or not give it any reason to try and grow anymore, But I also know it's tough when you're 5'6", 5'7", you're 260 plus pounds on stage with that much muscle. It leaves nowhere for these things to go,
Yeah. I want to show you something.
It's tough, but I also think Nick's biggest asset is always going to be his muscularity and conditioning. I don't think he's ever going to be a shape guy. So he's playing to his strengths continuously. And generally your strengths continue to grow because they're what you naturally, develop well during training and stuff like that. But I think, he definitely has enough size up top that he can kind of let that on the back burner a bit, bring the quads up a little more, and just try and get the flow back in some of those shots. So he's not losing as much ground to guys like Derek or Hottie in a shot like the front double, the front lat, the abs and thighs, I don't think for a second he can't hang with them on a side chest, side try, back double, back lat for sure. But the front shots will be an issue as the waist goes. Yeah.
Let me show you this. This is, I think Nick can do himself a lot better be served a lot better at the Olympia looking like this.
Yeah.
This was Arnold Classic 2023. And obviously he took second to Samson there. But when I look at these two shots, there's no doubt I know they told him to come back fuller, so that's what he did. So he's not doing anything wrong. He did what they asked him to do. But personally, this physique is miles ahead in my opinion. Because look, his legs are the same size, but because his stomach is smaller and flatter, his legs look better in the shot. And he looks more balanced.
Yeah, because his legs are actually bigger on the right, on New York.
Right.
Like his legs, I think, did improve. You can see through the adductor a little bit more on the sweep. Like he definitely did grow his legs.
Right.
And everything else in terms of the chest, the lats, the arms are still very, very comparable there. That like the size is excellent. But the one thing, like you said, changing the flow of that pose is the midsection there. It's just the depth to the abs isn't quite as good because it's coming out a little bit. Just kind of rounding out kind of at the edges a little bit. The obliques, you can see there's like another, centimeter or two of thickness on the obliques. So it just changes the dynamic of that pose, obviously, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Which, will obviously be his biggest obstacle come the Olympia, staying next to guys like Derek, who has a tiny waist and a front double, with crazy flaring lats, crazy X-frame. Hottie's got, very good abdominal control and depth like Nick does. But, his midsection is still, pretty small when he hits some of those shots. Samson, these guys are obviously just, aesthetic marvels. So, I think that would be the biggest thing I think he needs to be mindful of heading into the Olympia, because he can absolutely hold his own in every other shot. It's just those front shots is going to end up being something that could hurt him at that high level, right?
Does Nick bother doing anything else now, or is she's done?
Yeah,
done, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he won 30 grand, got the New York Pro ring, 2-time champ. Take the time to the Olympia. Nick only did the show because he had to requalify. I don't think he's just trying to like rack up New York Pro titles or anything. Right. So I think he wouldn't have even done it if he was requalified. So I think he's not going to do anything more. I would assume so. Maybe he has other plans, but me speaking just from my opinion.
Does Martin do anything now?
I mean,
I don't think he is. I think
he can keep winning shows for sure.
I talked to Stefan. I think he's going to take a rest and recover. But I mean, he could walk into California and win.
He could go to California and Toronto and win both.
Why not? Why not get the extra fucking $30,000, $20,000?
Yeah, no, I don't. I think when you're like kind of a new hot commodity like Martin is, honestly, you could just fucking keep striking. Like the iron's hot, just keep going at it. You won Detroit. You were close second to Nick here. One of the best bodybuilders in the world. I think going into a California or Toronto, you'd definitely be looked at as the front runner. And I know the judges like when these guys just fucking compete.
Well, I mean,
I think for him, you could go win another, he's already won what, 30 grand at your show plus 17.5 here. Go do it. He could, walk out of this
another 20 grand. Yeah.
won another 20, 30 grand, in these next two shows or more, depending what the purses are, and that's not even including whatever he wins at the Olympia. So, I mean, he could make this a very profitable year for him. So, yeah, I mean, with 2 more weeks and 2 more shows, I say fuck it and slam him out. But I also wouldn't fault him in any way if you want to. It's like, hey, I'm good. I'm ready. Shut it down.
I would fucking do it, man. Why not?
I would too. And I did, like with Texas and Toronto or Texas and Tampa and stuff. I did that kind of stuff. But
the thing is, it solidifies you in all of the bodybuilding world, the ecosphere, whatever you want to call it.
The thing is, he did have a bit longer gap between Detroit and New York. If it had been 2 weeks or 1 week between those shows, but I understand it was a little bit of a longer stretch that he's been pushing for a while now. So maybe he wants to give himself a little break, have a little time to see if he can make any improvements going into the Olympia. But I also said, I don't think 2 weeks makes any difference in your ability to pack on muscle. 2 weeks is so negligible in the long scheme of things.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's New York, man. That's in the books,
Sure.
and then we'll get together for California or something else.
Yeah. All right, man.
All right, brother. Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.